They're identifying conditions that we undergo, like breast cancer, Alzheimer's, that there's a change in our saliva 10 years before you show symptoms.
I'm going to be taking a saliva test that Patti has brought.
So there's a marker, it's called nitric oxide, and it is thought to be the longevity molecule. They study the body all sorts of ways, and they try to identify what are the markers that indicate that you will live longer in life.
The chemistry of our saliva and the mind, they're communicating. They're showing you something that you need to know. Welcome back to Brokers of Secrets. I'm here again with Patti. We're going to continue because we have a few things that we want to cover that we haven't yet. Because we want to talk about what happens when your mindset changes. What changes would it cause in your saliva and therefore your biochemistry? Because oftentimes we talk about how important the mind is and what we think about. However, we don't oftentimes get this opportunity to ask someone, what happens to your saliva? What happens to your biochemistry, what's going on inside your body when you think and feel differently? Now, of course, we can all assume that it changes how we feel inside and a lot of things just by changing what's going on in our mind. But what's the science? So in this episode, we're going to do that. And I'm going to be taking a test here,
Yes.
which will be really fun. It's a saliva test that Patti has brought. So we're going to talk about this and get into it. So let's hear that story because
Well, there's many researchers now that say that saliva is the liquid gold of the body. And
that's a great way to start this story. Please go on. Why is the saliva the liquid
Yes.
gold?
And one thing, and certainly the pandemic contributed to the trailblazing work that this researchers have done, but they're identifying conditions that we undergo, like breast cancer, Alzheimer's, that there's a change in our saliva 10 years before before you show symptoms of breast cancer or Alzheimer's. So there's a boatload of research in clinical work doing that. Then there's a subset, which you mentioned, mindset. And I think this research, a shout out to Dr. Leah Crum, I think she's a trailblazer. She said, we should understand what goes on with our thoughts or our mindset, how it impacts our physiology. So she did this powerful study, which she labeled, and you can look this up. It's called Mindset Over Milkshakes. She took two groups of people. She took one group and she fed them an indulgent shake. An indulgent shake had 700 calories, X amount of grams of protein, whatever, and they drank it. And then she did something very sassy. She measured a certain chemical in our body that's called ghrelin. I like to remember it as growl. It's when you first start to get hungry, you've released this hormone into your body. So she measured ghrelin before they drank the shake, halfway through them drinking the shake, and then 2 hours later. And then she took another group of people, and then she fed them a sensible shake. And this sensible shake had 180 calories and X amount of grams of protein. And she did the same thing. She measured ghrelin before, halfway through, and 2 hours later. Now, intuitively, I would imagine most people would say people who had the indulgent shake had ghrelin that started out high. They were hungry and were quite satisfied with the shake. So it went down as they consumed it. And 2 hours later, the ghrelin level, the measure of hunger, was low. Now, sensible, same thing. Ghrelin was low at the beginning and then moved up so that they were satisfied halfway through. But 2 hours later, they were back to ghrelin levels like when they started. They were super hungry. Here was the rub to the experiment. The shakes were exactly the same. That's why she said it's powerful. What you believe in the food that you eat changes your biochemistry. Fast forward, and right before you take this test, I always advise my people before they do any kind of testing, it's amazing how much we are programmed into thinking pass or fail, good or bad. And so the other study she did was she took healthy eaters and she said, now, why do you eat healthy food? Well, half of the group said, oh, I find it bioenhancing. It makes me feel good. I know I'm doing it for my vitality. The other half was like, I'm on a prescription. I'm in jail. I have to eat this way. And interestingly enough, when she measured their biochemistry, the ones that said they thought they were in jail because they had to eat this healthy food, they had biomarkers like people who were ill.
Oh.
I know. Let that sink in for a second. So I'm hoping every time you get ready to eat, no matter if it's good food or indulgent food, that you stopped and check your mindset before you begin. So I'm going to have you check your mindset before you do your spit test, because there's no good or bad, pass or fail. It just is a number of where you are right now dynamically in your body.
How many seconds does it take to kick in?
That's a good question. That I'm not sure of. Probably above my pay grade. Yeah.
I'm
so
ready.
So there's a marker, and this one you can look up. It's called nitric oxide, and it is thought to be the longevity molecule. They study the body all sorts of ways, and they try to identify what are the markers that indicate that you'll live vitality-wise longer in life. And nitric oxide, when people show optimal levels of nitric oxide, they live longer. And it's actually tied to the blue zones. If you are aware of the blue zones, which are 5 regions in the world where higher percent of people live over 100. So what I'm going to have you do is take a little spittle, that's the fancy word for spit, and put it on your finger and put it on this pad on the strip. There you go. And then you fold it over and hold it for 5 seconds. Yeah, squish it together. Perfect. And I did mention that the clinical side of saliva research is very robust in trying to identify different disease states and what they can find in saliva. But then there's this other group of sensory saliva people, which studies, is that changing?
I don't know.
Because you put a nice wad of spit on it.
Did I put too much?
No. Not. I'm going to have you just do one other stick, just to be sure.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Sorry, it's a little wet.
Yeah, no worries. And then there's these sensory saliva people do amazing work studying what the orchestration of foodstuffs and why a meal is pleasant versus unpleasant. And part of that is our saliva is the detector of all of the molecules and minerals and vitamins in food. And then there's a third area of saliva, which interests me greatly because it's the risk when you have low saliva. The medical term is called xerostomia, and they're studying people that have.
Looks like I need to work on my nitric oxide.
Well, and that's good that you have a mindset, because that's the cool part is. And, part of this is this, and there's a strip on the container that you can measure whatever saliva it is.
I need some gold time.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And honestly, this is not good, bad, or different. It's for the moment that you took it. So if we tested you in 15 to 20 minutes, you could have a
If I hadn't had breakfast, would it change anything?
Yeah, it would.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So interestingly enough, saliva also is a natural neutralizer of foods and supplements. So sometimes we cough up a certain amount of nitric oxide to metabolize and digest food. So maybe that was part of the effect.
Yeah, I have had creatine this morning.
Yeah.
And
very good supplement.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, and there's another shout out to a great physician. His name is Dr. Zach Bush, and he's got a 4-minute workout that can elevate your nitric oxide.
Really?
Yes. So you can Google that and look that up on YouTube, because he says that it's such a longevity molecule. You should do this workout 3 times a day, especially for business people who sit most of the time. And yet, if they're activating their nitric oxide, they need to have a higher amount.
Should one take nitric oxide, type supplements?
That's a great question. And I always say, and I probably should have started the session with, I hope you can partner with a healthcare professional that really listens to you and can help design a program that's specific for you. Because I would say bring up nitric oxide with any clinician that you deal with. More and more evidence is that if you do show low that it would be of benefit. But I don't want to make that blanket statement because I don't know everyone's individual biochemistry as well as their history of medications.
It's a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. This
It's
is not medical advice.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. It's just for educational purposes. But hopefully I've stimulated some thoughts about what saliva does for the body and all these great researchers. So interestingly, if now this is of interest, there is 2 organizations that I think you want to look up. One is there's a Spit Institute
Okay. Yeah.
at University of California, Irvine. And they're very unique because they study what isn't working. So now there's a group of physicians that are like, why don't some medications work with some people and why do some medications not work? Now they're looking at what is contained in saliva as being maybe a key factor to switching on what medications work or don't work for your body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's way beyond DNA, which everyone probably has done their DNA with a spit test to find out your history. Now there's some really practical ways to look at how going forward enhancing your health can make a difference. And one particular researcher is doing amazing work looking at chemotherapy agents and the saliva impact, because some chemo agents affect saliva, some don't. And now they're trying to understand why.
Wow.
So as much as I know, I feel like I'm a town crier as a saliva enthusiast because there's so much we don't know.
It seems that not only is it something we need to consider that most people don't consider, right? So what's a good way to consider, right? What's a good way to understand, okay, am I doing okay with my saliva? Is my saliva okay? Like, take this test, right? It sounds like nitric oxide is a measurement, but there's probably a bunch of other things to consider. Saliva flow, I'm assuming, is one of the key things. What else would you recommend that people who are listening, that they begin to pay attention to?
Yes. Oh, thank you for this question.
Yeah.
You know what? And simplest is best. Just 3 times a day, check in with your saliva. So in other words, you get up in the morning and you probably reflect and you probably do all of your morning routine, but check in to say, how juicy am I? You know, just because I think we all can detect whether you feel like you've got some juiciness. Now, there's very sophisticated saliva flow testing, but I think you just wake up and go, how juicy am I? And you realize you're a little low. Maybe you do those traditional Chinese medicine saliva flow exercises. Maybe you have a squirt of citrus and a little water to get you going. Maybe you take a handful of goji berries, stimulate that saliva, realizing it's not only saliva, it is a soothing tonic for your overall body because it positions you in the nervous system of rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. And right before lunch, check in with your saliva. Maybe you had a stressful morning. You don't realize it was stressful, but your body goes, ooh, that was vicious. And then you realize you have dry mouth. So now, again, squirt of lemon and water. Maybe you take a little essential oil, peppermint, past your nose. That stimulates saliva. Or maybe you do the traditional Chinese medicine exercises. So now you position yourself in the afternoon to oscillate, as they say, and the researchers, into the rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation state of your nervous system. And then right before bed, you do the same thing. And so at some point, you can get a faction of how your saliva has flowed throughout the day. More importantly, what side of the nervous system have you been functioning in, which will make a big difference in optimizing your day.
Wow. So if we were to look at those times, how our saliva is doing, the flow, right? We could also do things like resolution formula.
Yes.
Along with this, right? So that they can get into a more optimal state.
Yes.
Therefore, you can observe how your saliva production is doing throughout the day as you do resolution.
Yes, exactly. That's why I think it just dovetails beautifully into the upgrade community, because it's all about being your best self, being highly present, and you can only do that if you have good saliva flow.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So as you're doing the exercises that we teach in Upgrade, for those of you who know what they are, each time we should check our saliva or
Yes.
get ourselves into an optimal state through,
Yes.
for example, the lemon water first thing in the
Yes,
morning, right?
exactly.
So there's a number of practices that one can do to get into an optimal state.
Yes.
As we do these exercises, they complement each other.
Exactly. Absolutely. And maybe one added for those of you that like bonus work.
Please do, yes.
You could check in with your mindset as you're checking your saliva flow. Like, was I angry in the morning? Was I frustrated? Was I grateful? Was I optimistic? And maybe at that point, you pivot and you find some gratefulness and some optimistic ways to do. And I bet you notice your saliva flow change.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. So what about for people that are getting sick or are sick?
Yes.
Again, not medical advice, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like, because what I'm picking up here is, and some of these things, by the way, I'm actually asking because I've never heard of this. Some of these things I'm asking because I think that you guys want to know. But Patti's answers always surprises me in terms of like there's more information, more data, more science, right? So I'm curious, like when people are getting sick or are sick, are there things that you would recommend from a nutritional standpoint, scientifically, that they can do with their saliva that would help?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again for another great question.
Yeah, of course.
You're a beautiful plant. Yeah, interestingly enough, when you think about the last time you were ill, you can think about, many of us don't, we just feel like we feel crappy. But interestingly enough, it's and I hope I'm not disturbing anyone when I say this, but any microbe or virus in the body, we have such an elegant system in our immune system. We have 7 layers to the immune system that are trying to tangle, decompress, decompose the virus or microbe so it doesn't harm us. And part of that is the microbe and the virus is producing a fair bit of poo in our body. So one of the reasons why when you get congested or when you have a tummy ache, all of that is actually from the toxins of the virus and the microbes that has been released. So again, if you think in that term of what I've said before, you need to help the body flush the toilet and get rid of those toxins. So one of the best thing you can do is to deep breathe. Makes a big difference.
Deep
breathe.
breathing.
Yeah, breathe. What they call belly breathing, right?
Got it.
So a quick way you can always assess whether you're a deep breather or not is put a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly and close your eyes and watch what hand rises and lowers. And this is very elementary, but if the hand on your chest rises and lowers more than the belly breathing, then we say you're a chest breather. Not that it's good or bad, it's just that you are in the hyperarousal of your nervous system. Belly breathing is the rest, relaxation, rejuvenation side of the nervous system. So if that hand is moving more, then you are in the state of healing. If you're a chest breather, you're not in the state of healing. You're in the fight or flight. And sometimes you need to be there. So that's why there's no judgment here. It's just to be very aware of what sides you're breathing and then eat a fermented food. So now in the U.S. and America, it tends to be, we think of pickles, but think around the world. I'm Scandinavian. Buttermilk is our go-to. Pickled fish, miso soup, kimchi, all of those foods. Yogurt,
Kombucha.
Absolutely. Kombucha, absolutely. So usually we say 1 or 2 servings a day of fermented food. If you're in that struggle and you are starting to become ill or you're ill and you just can't get over that hump, some of those things can kick in beautifully because they work with your saliva to produce more flow. Now, right away, that should mean that that increased flow is helping the body rid itself of the viruses and microbes and their elimination.
Man. I mean, how often do people think about their saliva when they're sick or getting sick?
Yes.
Right? No, I don't know of anyone.
Yes, exactly.
They never talk about this.
Yes. Yeah.
There's
I think there's going to be great work. My ideal thought is at the new medical centers out there, you walk in and you get a spit kit. And you spit. And I believe one day, it's not developed yet, but I believe one day you'll have a spit kit which will show you your viral load so people know even walking through the door, because it takes 3 days for the virus to infect you before you start showing symptoms. So when you walk in now, you have a spit kit, you show your viral load, you're good to go. Second, you show your vitamins and minerals level. I mean, how many of us would love to know magnesium level, calcium level, potassium
and
level?
You can do that with just saliva.
Yeah. And thirdly is then your longevity risk. What are the symptoms, whether your past history or your family history or whatever diseases that they had that you might be a little nervous about, they could test for those. And I believe that's a new healing center. And then you go into individual rooms depending on what your results are.
Wow. What a beautiful vision. Man, okay.
Yeah.
We should make that happen.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm really excited that we got to chat about this and share with the audience how important saliva is and how it's an indicator and a communication system, right?
Yes.
Very much like our emotions. Our emotions are a communication system.
Yes.
And all of these things communicate, but most people just don't have the signal. They don't know how to detect or determine.
Or it's unconscious.
Right?
Yeah.
Highly unconscious. So these 2 episodes, we wanted you to become more conscious of one of the most important indicators, because it's not just blood, right?
Yes.
Saliva. And funny enough, people don't check their poop, right? Their pee.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? People don't check it daily. Like people
Yeah.
that check it, they also, also when they don't know what to look for, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, but if you're an adult, you should have a decent idea. And if you don't, ask AI, learn, ask your medical providers.
Yes.
So I want to bring awareness to your mind and your biochemistry are connected.
Yes.
And so
Thank you.
the biggest thing, and yes, and I also wanted to pitch you Gold Time, right? Like that's an important thing. And not just because, like this is something that's going to help you, but because it actually applies to what is going on in your mind, how you feel, your mental state. So for those of you who do count on your performance, Gold Time is something that you definitely need to pay attention to. And it's easy to get it. It's called getgoldtime.com. Gold Time is spelled as GOAL time. So if you go to getgoldtime.com, you can order our current packages. And I think there's a discount on buying a bundle of 10 packs.
Yes.
10 packs mean anywhere from 5 to 10 trips.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Or if you're like, I want to take it daily, then buy more.
Yeah.
So my main goal, again, is for you to become aware. And many people are not aware of what they never considered. And the chemistry of our saliva and the mind, they're communicating. They're showing you something that you need to know. So take good care of yourself. We look forward to going to the next episode where we're going to be talking again about how to create exponentially more success and wealth, which you'll see how this all connects. See you soon.